Hi everybody, my name is Gautier Peers and I'm in charge of the Searial Cleaners in the Americas. The Searial Cleaners is a range of technologies that were developed by Poralu Marine to address the plastic pollution crisis. It's a range that's composed of 4 technologies, 3 technologies for the water and 1 technology for the beach. As you may know, Poralu Marine is one of the world's oldest manufacturers of marinas. The company was founded back in 1984, and throughout our history, we have been witnessing plastic pollution growing exponentially. Back in the 80s, when we built our first marinas, plastic was an unusual sight in marinas. I don't say that it didn't exist at that time, but it was not nearly in the same proportions as today. The biggest increase of plastic pollution that we witnessed is been in the last 10 to 20 years. If we listen to the forecast from scientists, right now it's estimated that about between 8 to 12 million metric tons of plastic escape in the oceans, lakes and rivers every year. But of course, as the world plastic production keeps growing, of course, the plastic pollution problem is growing as well. It's estimated that by 2050, we'll produce about 4 times more plastics as compared to today. And of course, plastic pollution is also expected to grow by about 4 times. The shocking part about it is 50% of the plastics that are produced worldwide are actually single-use plastics. So it's plastic cups, plastic utensils, plastic bags, which is very shocking because we have alternatives. We have reusable and sustainable alternatives that are made without plastic. The Searial Cleaners have 2 goals. Of course, the first one is to clean thoroughly marinas, ports, any kind of waterways or waterfront, to catch both the macro trash as well as the micro trash, and also surface holes. So that's the first mission. The second mission, which is the most important, is to use those technologies to raise awareness of the plastic pollution crisis. 3 ways. The first one is to collect data on plastic pollution. This helps us dress a picture of the situation locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. This is very important because we lack knowledge on what's going on. These data, they are used to inform and educate people, businesses, and policymakers. We have regional initiatives such as the Great Lakes Plastic Cleanup that really focus on plastic pollution regionally in the Great Lakes region. And then we also have an international initiative that's called the International Trash Trap Network. So the International Trash Trap Network uses data that have been generated thanks to the Searial Cleaners to present reports during the summits organized by the international agencies. So for example, the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, the G7, G20, and so on. Those reports are very important to convince the international agencies to come up with plastic treaties. Because since we are facing a global issue, it's very difficult for countries to take strong actions against plastic pollution because they know that this can potentially have an economic impact. So the only way to really address a global problem is to address it as one and not as separate countries. So the international agencies, they would sign treaties with the countries and the big polluters with targets that they need to reach to reduce their plastic footprint. The technology is a very simple and efficient tool to collect data, because if you do a beach cleanup or you do a river cleanup, you're gonna mostly pick up the big stuff because it's very hard to spot in the water or in the sand the smaller stuff and to pick them up. Our technologies, they are like easy solutions because they work 24/7. They collect trash all the time. We can produce exhaustive data so on macroplastics as well as microplastics. The second way, it was to find a solution to catch people's attention so that we can interact with them and educate them, inform them on the plastic pollution crisis. So not only our technologies should be very performant to satisfy the marinas and to do a good job at cleaning, but they should also catch people's attention, so boaters, beachgoers. So our technologies have to look futuristic. Of course, the main target for us is kids. We want to educate the next generation on the kind of issues that they are facing, and to make them become responsible adults in the future. We also want to catch the media's attention, and it's difficult to make the media talk about the plastic pollution crisis. The technology is a great way, again, to catch their attention, to provide us and our network a platform to talk about plastic pollution. The goal for us is to create a global network with organizations that have very different profiles. So we work with marinas, ports, industry associations, with the government, with non-profits, universities, brands that become corporate sponsors, local communities, and so on. The idea is to join forces and voices to make a stronger impact. This problem is so big that it's almost impossible for a single organization to address it. So it's how can we form that big global network that can really, become kind of a lobby to counter that problem. Of course, for Poralu, it was a big investment to launch 4 technologies, to hire a team, to produce those technologies, to sell them, and like the marinas like us have been making the same observation. The Searial Cleaners, it's a wake-up call to tell to the marina industry, you guys have been witnessing exactly the same as what Poralu Marine has witnessed, and a lot of you guys are looking for solutions to engage. A tangible way for you to engage is basically those technologies. So not just to clean your marina, but also to help us with the data collection. The Searial Cleaners range is composed of 4 technologies, 3 technologies for the water, 1 technology for the beach. The technologies for the water, the first one is called Collec'Thor, which is our 2nd generation trash skimmer. So some of you may know us already for Sea-Beam. Poralu Marine used to be the world's exclusive manufacturer for Sea-Beam until December 2021. So we co-developed Sea-Beam with the Sea-Beam project. We bought machines to manufacture it, and then we deployed about 2,500 units worldwide. So Sea-Beam was really a big success. The Sea-Beam project decided to change strategy. Back in 2021, they announced their full autonomy and a change of business model. What we understood from the market feedback is that it's very important that those technologies are easy to use, easy to maintain, for the marinas to keep using them. So we had a lot of questions about how often the technology needs to be emptied, how often you need to clean it, what kind of maintenance is expected. So when we launched the Searial Cleaners, we had to make sure that those technologies are as performant as possible, but also as user-friendly as possible, because the ultimate goal for us is not just to deploy those technologies, but to build that global network. And for that, we need to make sure that each of the members of our network is fully happy about the technologies. The first technology is called Collec'Thor. Collec'Thor is a 2nd generation trash skimmer. The idea with that skimmer, it was to have a bigger collection capacity so that the marinas don't have to empty it so often. The second, it was to make sure that the pump that we use is the highest quality. The pump of the skimmer is the heart, is the most important component. So if there's any issue with the pump, it's very difficult for the marinas to fix it. We teamed up with Honda and we use a pump that has been developed by Honda for the mining industry. So basically that pump, usually crush stones that may be stuck inside, and it's the same idea for marinas. So if there is any seaweed or any pine needles or whatever stuck inside the pump, it shouldn't get clogged. Then we also had to think, of course, to pull manually a skimmer out of the water is not really good for the back and for the arms, So we designed a sliding system. That sliding system is composed of a crank and sliding tracks on the side of the skimmer. So you turn the crank, the skimmer comes out of the water at about hip height, and then there is a door in the back of the skimmer that you open, and this is where the trash sits. Then you come with a wheel cart and a rake, and you empty the content into the wheel cart. We also had to think about how to make our new skimmer more ecological, because to use plastic to fight plastic pollution is a weird concept. Collec'Thor is made of aluminum. So aluminum, of course, has very good anti-corrosion properties, especially because we use the finest grade, which is 5754, which is the same kind of aluminum used for shipbuilding. And on top of this, of course, it's 100% recyclable. The second technology is InvisiBubble, which is a bubble curtain. That bubble curtain is composed of an air compressor that's connected to a micro-perforated pipe. The air bubbles escape from that micro-perforated pipe. When they rise to the surface, they bring the trash from the water column up to the surface. And when they pop up at the surface, they create a surface current that deflects the trash towards a certain area. In this certain area, we can install Collec'Thor, which is our trash skimmer, to capture what gets deflected by the bubble curtain. There are different options. We can install a bubble curtain at the entrance of the marina that will prevent trash from either getting in or escaping from the marina. And we can also install bubble curtains around the docks. So we can prevent trash from entering the boat slips because the marinas spend so much time cleaning manually each of the boat slips every day, and there could be a much more efficient and much less time-consuming solution. So it would be to install bubble curtains along the docks and also along the fuel docks, so we can contain the hydrocarbons and prevent oil spills. This is the first application. The second application, which I think has a lot of potential with marinas, is to use bubble curtains to repel sediments. So basically particles in suspension in the water. Dredging can be a high cost for marinas. Some of the marinas are connected to rivers with a lot of particles, and of course a part of those particles enter in the marina, and when this happens you have to dredge to make sure that there is enough depth for the boat. So the bubble curtain, same, it will repel particles in the water column outside the marina. We can't repel 100% because it's not a physical barrier, but we can repel a certain percentage. On top of this, since it's a natural barrier, it doesn't block boats and it doesn't block aquatic life. The last application for InvisiBubble is eutrophication prevention. So we use it to oxygenate the water and to prevent the development of surface algae. Sometimes we get algae blooms in the summertime, which is due to nutrients and to a lot of sunlight. So we get that massive algae growth. InvisiBubble prevents this two ways. Of course, it creates a water flow on the surface, which is not good for surface algae, so it would prevent surface algae formation. And on top of this, it oxygenates the water, which boosts the anaerobic bacteria activity. So the anaerobic bacteria convert nutrients into non-harmful compounds for the environment. So the next technology is called PixieDrone. So of course skimmers like Collec'Thor are stationary. they are permanent. So once it's installed, it's installed. It's you can move it around, but it's quite complicated. So we had to think about a solution for marinas and ports that need a mobile technology, and that's where the idea of PixieDrone was born. So the PixieDrone is an aqua drone. Okay, the way it works is very simple. There's a mouth in the front of the PixieDrone, and it would just swallow trash in its path. We have two versions of PixieDrone. The first one is remote controlled, so it needs to have someone to operate it. And then we have one version which is autonomous. Both versions come with an online portal where you can track the drone activity, so you can see where the drone has been. The drone is also equipped with sensors for water quality data. It has two standard sensors, one for temperature and one for depth, but we have a wide range of sensors. If marinas want to know how much dissolved oxygen, how much of, let's say, salinity or conductivity in the water. So we have various sensors. And then the online portal is also used to draw cleaning routes for the autonomous version. For the autonomous version, we are developing a ramp that will be launched around summer 2023. This ramp will lift PixieDrone out of the water onto the shore. It will empty it and it will recharge it. So it's a bit like the Roomba that you have to clean your apartment or your house, except that this is on the water, but it works exactly the same way. So it's an easy and convenient solution for marinas to stay clean pretty much all the time. The idea was to make it as user-friendly as possible. So it had to come in a certain size. Its holding capacity is about 36 gallons. So it's half of Collec'Thor, but it's still like fairly big. But yeah, the idea was to have it to empty it as less often as possible and to make it enjoyable for the users. To conclude, because I didn't really talk about that, but it's very critical to take actions against plastic pollution. We are getting more and more aware about global warming because media talk a lot about this, and it's really like the main environmental crisis. But plastic pollution, the media don't talk enough about it. The Industrial Revolution just started 250 years ago. If you look at the impact of humanity within those 250 years, considering that life on Earth started about 3.5 billion years ago, it's really shocking, and the few generations that lived within that time, whatever they created, the next generations will have to deal with this. And the important message, is that plastic pollution is irreversible. Once it's in the oceans, lakes, and rivers, it's basically too late for two reasons. The first one is that 70% of all plastics sink because their density is greater than that of water. And then all macroplastics break up into smaller and smaller particles called microplastics that just spread everywhere in the water. So there will never be a technology to recover what has sunk and to filter all the oceans, lakes, and rivers. The question is, we are facing a time-ticking bomb. It's expected that if we keep business as usual, by 2100, 90% of aquatic species will be on the verge of extinction. This is kind of a wake-up call for the marina industry and say, look, we need to create that global network to be able to convince the authorities to come up with strong action plans against plastic pollution. So not only you can have your marina clean, but you can help us address this problem. And no single organization will succeed as one. So it's important to join forces and voices within one single network to talk to the authorities and convince them to come up with strong action plans.